Please subscribe to my channel, and I will recommend more excellent movies for you. Move your cute fingers, subscribe to me. Thank you. At the border between Iran and Turkey, there was perennial war. In the early stage of the war between the United States and Iran, Saddam carried out a brutal suppression of this area, and 500,000 people died in the war. The children's parents all died in the war. The children are digging mines on the front of the hillside, and the detection experts are detecting mines on the back of the hillside. Henkel is lying on the grass, gently pulling the mine with his mouth, and then turning to pull the mine out. This job caused Henkel to lose his arms and also caused most of the children to become physically disabled. In order to survive, they have to engage in this dangerous job. There is a slightly older boy named Satellites in the village. He is the recognized leader of the children. He leads the children to dig landmines, and then he is responsible for buying and selling landmines and dividing the money for everyone. Satellites are the only people in this village who know how to install signals. The people in the village care about satellite signals the most. Watching the news is their most important thing every day, because they desperately want to know when the war will end and when they can live in peace. Early in the morning, in the messy tent, Henkel found that his brother who was sleeping next to him had disappeared. He woke up his sister Tina and asked his brother Riga where he had gone. At this time, Riga was on the border between Iraq and Turkey. He touched the barbed wire with his hand. The barking of dogs came across from him. Riga burst into tears and fear. The satellites found the young Riga, and he ran over to pick him up. The partners used their disabled legs as guns to shoot at the opposite side. Gunshots came from the opposite side, and they ran away with Riga in fright. Satellites brought the child back and warned Henkel not to put the child on the border, because it would be easily shot by the enemy. The next day, the satellites took the children to the bullet factory to carry the discarded cartridge cases. However, they did not know that these cartridge cases would be recycled and processed, and finally made into weapons to continue destroying their homes. Henkel was also busy carrying the bullet casings. My sister Tina looked at the bullet casings thrown high in the sky with pain and loss on her face. Riga ran around, calling his father and his mother, but he didn't know that his future would become what it looks like. At this time, Henkel told the satellites that there would be an accident in the big truck ahead. Although the satellites didn't believe it, they still organized the children to leave immediately. Sure enough, as soon as the children left, the truck exploded. This surprised the satellites. An old man once told him that there would be a prophet in the village. At that time, the satellites did not believe that there would be a prophet. Satellites like Henkel's sister. He often shows up next to Tina and uses his new car to help her carry water. Satellites expresses love to Tina, hoping that they can rely on each other, but Tina refuses his love. At night, Henkel dared not fall asleep. He was afraid that his sister would throw Riga away again, or even kill Riga, because last time Riga was placed on the border by her sister. In fact, Riga is not Tina's younger brother, but her child. One night, soldiers who suppressed the village name broke into the village. Several soldiers caught Tina. She had just witnessed her parents being killed, and now she was arrested by bad guys. Live, her small body was branded with permanent pain and shame in the heavy rain. Riga's father was the one who killed her parents and violent her. Such fate was weighed on a young girl. Tina had no youth anymore, and only anger and hatred. Countless times, Tina wanted to jump off the cliff and end her life. Early in the morning, Tina looked at Riga, and could only send her anger and past humiliation to Riga. Henkel found her sister beating Riga, and had no choice but to carry Riga out of the house. On motorcycles, Henkel foresaw that war was about to start, American aircraft and tanks were about to be dispatched, and Saddam was about to fall. They hurried back to the village to inform the villagers. When they came to the village, the satellites hurried to inform the villagers, but everyone obviously didn't believe it, because the war was not forecast on TV. Soon after, the Americans used a helicopter to drop a letter of persuasion to surrender, saying that they would take care of the villagers who surrendered like a friend. Those who resist are our common enemy. We will turn this place into heaven and take away your pain. Although he had written a letter of persuasion to surrender, the satellites was still ready to fight. He went to the market to buy a gun and bought a necklace made of bullets for Tina. In the tent, Tina is discussing escape with Henkel. She doesn't want to take Riga, but Henkel disagrees. Early in the morning, while her brother was not paying attention, Tina went out carrying Riga on his back. She tied Riga to a tree like a puppy. Tina arranged Riga's clothes, said goodbye to Riga, and said goodbye to everything in the past. But the baby Riga did not knowing what was about to happen. When Tina disappeared into the thick fog, Riga finally cried, and Riga shouted, "Mom!" The children were all repairing the defensive wall on the hillside. A child ran over, and the brother of the boy with the broken arm ran into the minefield. Satellites hurriedly took everyone to the hillside. It turned out that Riga untied the rope and happened to walk into the minefield. There were landmines that could explode at any time. The satellites comforted Riga and carried out rescue operations. He approached Riga and the mine exploded with a bang. Satellite's feet were injured, and he couldn't stop crying in pain. Fortunately, Riga was safe. After Tina returned to the tent, she found that Riga had returned alive. Her indifferent eyes revealed the helplessness of being played by fate. While Henkel was asleep, Tina took Riga out of the tent again. There was a thunder. Henkel woke up. He once again foreseen that Riga was tied to a rock with a rope by his sister, and then Riga fell into the water. Henkel cried loudly, rushed out and looked along the road, and by the pond, the satellites cried. Then, Henkel jumped into the water, and he saw a pair of little blue shoes. Riga had turned into a little turtle and wandered away. Afterwards, Henkel came to the cliff where his sister often came. There was also a pair of blue shoes. He called his sister's name loudly, but only got an echo. He took his sister's shoes with his mouth and left this sad place. It is the most painful to be able to predict the future without changing anything. The movie ends. Turtles Can Fly is a movie released in 2004. War and peace, a topic that has lasted for many years. However, the selfishness and greed of human nature make peace an unattainable luxury. Children should be the hope of a nation, but this country uses the lives of children to remove landmines for adults. It is just a beautiful dream that tortoises can fly.